Your 20s are a time when you first start making money, and it's very common and normal to be dumb with your money because, well, it's the first time you ever make money. So now you want to go out and buy the nice things. You want to start spending money. You want to start going on vacation. You want to start buying a nice apartment. You want to get a nice car, and you want to just start exploring and enjoying life because you're finally out of school and you're finally making some money. But then come your 30s, and now you think this is going to be the time that I'm going to become wealthy, and an interesting thing happens in your 30s. First, this is around the time where a lot of people start to get married. You want to start settling down. Now, if you haven't gotten married yet, or if you are married, you know getting married is expensive. Not just because it costs money to file the court work, but because weddings are expensive. Now, I come from a traditional Indian family where Indian families and Indian weddings are extremely expensive because Indian weddings don't last 8 hours. Indian weddings last a week, if not longer. So, very expensive to get married. Then you consider having kids. Kids are also expensive. Now, I don't have any kids yet, but I have a lot of friends who have kids, and I hear about the financials of having kids, and having kids is expensive. Then you want to buy a home, if you haven't already. Buying a home is expensive. You need money for a down payment. You need money for the upgrades. You need money for the maintenance. You need money for all the nice things and the furniture that you want to put in the home. And then you start thinking about your college fund for your kids. And then you start thinking about building wealth for yourself and your wife or your husband. And then you start thinking about planning nicer vacations. And now because you're older, you also want to eat at nicer restaurants. And now because you're older, you want to have these fancier parties, go on these fancier dates. And now because you're older, you also want to drive a older person car. And now because you're older, you also want to have the nicer clothes so you look a little bit more professional when you go out. And now all of a sudden you're in your 30s. You're establishing yourself in your career. You're making okay money. But if you don't have a plan going into your 30s, it is going to be very difficult now all of a sudden to start building wealth and managing your money because life happens. And life is expensive. And people have a lot of babies. And every baby is going to have a baby shower. And every baby shower is going to have an expensive gift that you got to give. So if you don't have a plan going into your 30s, it's going to be very hard to build any wealth in your 30s, which is why so many people in their 30s are still struggling financially. And that's why now, if you want to become wealthy, the first thing you got to do is you got to build a plan for your money. Now, I know a lot of people out there are saying, oh, you just got to make more money. That's going to fix your problems. But the reality is, we've seen this statistically, is when you make more money without having a plan, you dig yourself into a bigger financial hole. How do we know this? Well, just look at people who won the lottery. People have won millions and millions of dollars. Yet the majority of lottery winners end up broke or bankrupt within 5 years of winning the lottery. Why? It's not because millions of dollars weren't enough. It's because you don't have a plan for your money. And this is where the first thing you have to do is be comfortable and okay with the money that you have right now, and that starts by making a plan. Now, one of the simplest things that you can do is follow something like my 75-15-10 plan, which says for every dollar that you earn from here on out, 75 cents is the maximum that you can spend, and that includes gifts for baby showers. 15 cents is the minimum that you're investing. 10 cents is the minimum that you're saving. Now, you're going to be saving money up until you can hit your savings goal. And your savings goal is going to be somewhere between 3 months to a year's worth of expenses. So figure out what your monthly expenses are. Take that number, multiply it by 3, multiply it by 12. That's the range of how much money you want to save. If you don't have a big risk tolerance, if you really like to be on the more cautious side, then you can save 6, 9, 12 months worth of expenses. If you want to be more of the risky side, you don't mind having less savings, then you can save 3 to 6 months worth of expenses. But now, once you figure out how much money you got to save, work to save that money. Once you save that money, take the 10% that you were allocating towards your savings, stop saving, and take the money and invest it. And the reason why I want you to invest that money instead of spend that money is because your wealth, your richness, your financial freedom comes from your investments. It doesn't come from your savings. It doesn't come from which car you drive or what home you live in. It comes from your investments. The more investments you have, the wealthier you will become. So I want you to reallocate that money towards your investments. Now, you can invest this money into stocks. You can invest this money into real estate. You can invest this money into your own self, into your own financial education. You can invest this money into your business. You can invest this money to pay down some of your debt. There's a lot of ways that you can invest this money, but the key is that you're going to put this money to work. That way it can make you more financially free. Paying down your debt will make you breathe easier, But if you want to be completely financially free, you need assets. You need investments that are going to pay you, because when your investments are paying you enough to cover your expenses, now you're financially free and you don't have to worry about money. If you have a dividend portfolio, dividends are cash flow the stocks give you that are paying you enough to cover your mortgage and cover your expenses, you don't got to worry about money. You don't got to worry about clocking in tomorrow. Now, that doesn't mean you shouldn't go to work, but you don't have to stress the same way about money that you would be if you didn't have that. So the goal is to own enough investments that will cover your lifestyle. But in order for you to do that, you have to be able to invest your money. So that means, number one, wherever you are right now, no matter how much money you're making right now, you do not spend more than 75 cents of every dollar that you bring in, period. Now, you might be saying, but Jaspreet, my best friend is getting married next month. I need more money for a gift. I need more money for a bachelor party. I need more money for this or for that. It's life. There's always going to be things happening. What happens in your 30s is people keep popping out babies, people keep getting married, and people keep having expensive parties at these overly over-the-top restaurants that are expensive. And what you realize is you start going to these nicer restaurants, and you start getting smaller portions of food. It still makes no sense to me. But that's what happens in your 30s. You pay more for less food, and you pay for a lot of people's babies. That's the 30s. That is life, which is why now you got to stop with the exceptions, and now you got to start being smart with your money today. That means now 75 cents is the maximum that you can spend. Now, if you want to be able to spend more, because now you want to have nicer things, you want to be able to have a bigger lifestyle, okay, that's fine. Nothing wrong with that. You're either going to have to A, invest more so you have more income coming in from your investments, or B, you're going to have to work to earn more money. Now, going back to what I was saying just a minute ago, statistically, when people make more money, they dig themselves into a deeper financial hole. Why? Because we're not given any sort of financial education. Most of us don't know what to do with our money. Most of us don't know what to do with $1 million if we were given it. Most of us don't know what to do with an extra $10,000 a year. And the quickest way to increase your wealth is next time you get a pay raise, don't inflate your lifestyle. Next time you get a pay raise, don't raise your lifestyle. Make more money. That way you have more money to invest. Now, I'm not saying you got to live like you're broke forever, but you got to go through this period. I call it a decade of sacrifice, where you're going to be working to do two things: earn more and spend less. That way you have more money to invest. Now, it doesn't sound like a lot of fun, and cutting back isn't the most fun thing to do, but if you can make it a challenge, it becomes more fun. But it will allow you now in your 30s to build way more wealth. That way, once you hit the 40s, because guess what? The clock is going to keep ticking, years are going to keep going, and time is going to keep running. And eventually you're going to become 40. You're going to hit your 40s. And now either you can be in the same situation that you are right now, or you can work right now to put in the sacrifice to build that wealth. That way now once you hit your 40s, you've built a solid investment fund, you've built a solid investment portfolio that gives you a lot more financial freedom. And now you can start spending more money because you can afford to. And now you can start going to parties and be a lot more comfortable spending money. But that requires you to put in that sacrifice today. Either you're going to put in the sacrifice today, or you're going to pay the price tomorrow. I mean, the choice is ultimately yours. But the reality is, if you want to be able to manage your money like the wealthy, the first thing you have to do is you got to be able to make the sacrifice to live a little bit smaller, and then work to earn more money. But then when you work to earn more money, don't work to earn this money now that we can drive a faster car or have a bigger home and go on these nice vacations, or pay for the small portions of food at these expensive restaurants. Work to earn more money right now. That way you have more money to invest. Period. Put in that work to invest your money first. Make yourself rich before you make everybody else around you rich. And what that defines to in number terms, whether it is $100,000 or $500,000 or $1 million, that's subjective. That's for you, depending on what your lifestyle is and how much money you need. But you have to be willing to put in that work right now. That way you can actually build that wealth. And this is where now you want to be looking at your money. And the simplest way to do this, I want you to take a piece of paper. I started doing this with everything, is when a new month starts, take a look at last month's finances. That means I can do this on a Google Sheet. You can do this on a piece of paper, whatever you want. You take a look at how much money you brought in. This could be money from your job. It could be money from your business. It could be money from your investments. Take a look at all the money you brought in. At the top, write the income. Then write the total money that came in. Then write down where that money went. So you can write how much money you saved. Write down how much money you invested. And then write down all of your other expenses. How much money went to eating out? How much money went to groceries? How much money went to traveling? How much money went to housing costs? How much money went to gifts? And how much money went everywhere else? Now you write down your expenses. Now, as soon as you do this, you are immediately going to find ways to adjust and improve how you're using your money. How do I know this? Because as soon as you see how much money you're spending on a bunch of expensive meals that aren't feeding you properly, you're going to immediately want to make changes because it's going to be staring back at you in your face. So start quantifying where your money is going and take a look at it. And now when you look at it month over month over month, you're going to see how much money you're bringing in, if your income's growing, staying the same, or falling. You're going to see how your expenses are doing. Are you spending more money, spending less money, spending the same amount of money? And see where your money is actually going. Sometimes, yeah, there's going to be months where you have to spend more money. That's life. But if you don't have to spend money, do you have to spend money? And this is where right now, your job as a financially smart person is to stop following what everybody else does, because the reality is most people in the 30s are still broke. Even if they're driving a BMW, they're still broke. This is where now you want to be the person that's not broke driving a BMW. You want to be able to afford the BMW and not have to stress about putting premium gas in the car. It blows my mind how many people have BMWs or expensive pickup trucks that complain about gas prices. If you're complaining about gas prices, you shouldn't have that car to drive in the first place. If you're complaining about the premium gas price, you shouldn't be driving a car that takes premium gas. Period. And this is where, if you want to have the nice things, cool. Just make sure you can afford the nice things first. And the final thing that you have to do in your 30s, you have to do this right now if you want to ever have a chance to ever become wealthy, is if you have a partner, a wife, a husband, a spouse, you got to sit this person down and get on the same page financially. And I get comments about this all the time. Jaspreet, I'm working hard to build my wealth, but my wife keeps spending all my money. Or, Jaspreet, I'm working hard to build wealth, but my husband keeps buying all these stupid cars. What do I do? Talk to them. Can you do something? And this is where now you got to sit down with your spouse and have an honest conversation about money. Show them my videos if you want, but you got to have an honest conversation about money, about where you are today and where you're trying to go. And the way that you win in this conversation, I'm going to tell you from personal experience here, is not to say, hey, wife or husband, we're going to cut back on expenses because cutting back is fun. That never works. It's, hey, husband or wife, we are going to make some sacrifices today. Work with me on this because I think you're going to be able to have even more fancy handbags 5 or 10 years from now, because we're going to put this plan together and we're going to work together to build more wealth. That way you can buy whatever handbags you want and not have to stress about the price. So now you're working towards a goal where, okay, you want some nice things. That's fine. That's very common in a relationship where one person likes spending, the other person doesn't. Opposites attract for a reason. Very rarely do you see two people in a relationship that are both like, you know what, we're going to cut back on expenses or we're going to earn more money. It doesn't work like that. One person wants to make more money and one person wants to spend more money. It's just how it works. Now, in order to get on the same page, you got to get together on the same goals. It's easier to align on the goals and then put in the sacrifice together. And this is where you're going to have to be honest with one another and come together with a game plan and work together to come up with an actual system to build wealth together. Hey, wife, husband, we're going to work together. That way we can invest more. That way we can save more. That way we can build a financial future. That way we can build a college fund for our kids. And as we start to do this, we're going to be able to spit off this much money every month for fun and discretionary items and more handbags or whatever it is that you want. And then in X number of years, we're going to be able to have more fun, go on more vacations and do this type of stuff. But I need you to work with me. That way we can actually make this happen. I'm going to jump back into the video in just 1 second. But before we do, if you are an investor and you're looking for an easy and free way to stay up to date on what's happening in the top financial news, from the economy to the housing market to the stock market to the crypto market to the global economy, then you have to check out Market Briefs. Market Briefs is my free financial newsletter that I created that will keep you up to date on what's happening in the financial news. You can read the newsletter in less than 5 5 minutes every morning. It's a fun and easy to read email, and it's completely free. So if you haven't joined Market Briefs yet, I got the link to how you can join down in the description below. And this is where you also want to understand and remember that if you're in your 30s, you are still young. You have so much time ahead of you. If you're in your 30s, if you're 35 years old, you are young. This is still the time for you to be aggressive. There's a lot that you can do. It kills me when I hear people who are 35 years old talk about how they're stuck in their careers or they're too established in this one industry and they cannot change. You are so young. If you want to make a change, do it. There's nobody stopping you but you. Now, you might feel like everybody's watching you. Your parents are watching you. Your in-laws are watching you. Your friends are watching you. Your cousins are watching you. Your coworkers are watching you. But who cares? This is your life. Everybody's going to judge you. The world is built to judge. That's just the way it works. Anytime I release a video on YouTube, people will judge. People judge no matter what you do. People will judge based off of what clothes you wear. People will judge based off of how much facial hair you have. People will judge based off of what pen I use. People judge me based off of what tea that I drink. People will judge you for everything that you do. People will judge you if you stay at your job. People will also judge you if you leave your job. It's just the world. So now you might as well make it matter. You might as well make it worthwhile. So if you want to make a change, if you feel like you're unhappy financially, go out and make a change. That might be making sacrifices with your car, making sacrifices with your home, making sacrifices with your vacations. It might be making sacrifices with the career that you're doing, but you are the one that's in control of that. You're the one that's in control of your life. And if you're constantly worried about what other people think, it is going to be impossible for you to ever achieve any real financial freedom. And the one thing, there's a lot of things that I can credit, and I'm very fortunate to be where I am, and I know that. But I would say the main mindset thing that allowed me to be where I am today is the fact that I was stupid. I never cared what people said. No matter how many dumb things I did, everybody told me that I was being dumb. But I had that hard head where I just kind of followed what I thought was right, no matter what. So please, if there's one thing that you get out of this video, it is to stop working to please other people and work to please yourself. Because the reality is, nobody else is going to be the one that's dealing with your bills. Nobody else is going to be the one that's paying for your kids to go to college. Nobody else is going to be the one to pay for your spouse to have the nice handbags or to pay for your family's vacations. That's you. Now, everybody else is going to talk no matter what. Everyone else is going to be talking about what you're doing or what you're not doing or what you should be doing. So give them something good to talk about. So now, if it's your responsibility to take care of your family, take care of them. Take care of yourself financially, take care of your family financially, because that is your duty. It is not your duty to worry about what everybody else thinks, because everybody's got an opinion and everybody's got something to say. It is your duty to take care of yourself, your family, and your community. And when you're in your 30s, you are young. You can still be aggressive. You can still go out and do bigger things. You can still go out and make big changes, but you have to be the one to go out and do it. So now, if you are in your 30s and you want to build wealth, the first thing you got to do is figure out how far are you from becoming wealthy. Then number 2, put a plan in action to actually become wealthy. That means now take a look at how much money can you put aside every single month? How many years do you have to work ahead of you? 3, put a plan in action to actually invest this money. Put a plan in action to earn more money if you need to. Put a plan in action to spend less money if you need to. And then think a little bit bigger. This is the minority mindset. We're not here to think like everybody else. If you want to think like the majority, go watch any other channel. The whole idea here is to think different, that we don't have to live an average life, that way you can live a bigger life, but that means you're going to have to start thinking differently than the majority of people. Now, if you want to start thinking differently than the majority of people, that means you're also going to have to do things a little bit differently. That means you might have to make a little bit more sacrifices. That means you have to work a little bit harder. That means you might have to work a little bit smarter. But it will also allow you to live a life that most people dream of. Now again, most people are going to talk and judge and hate on whatever you do, no matter what you do, whether you don't change or whether you do change. And so now, if your goal is to live big, at least give everybody something to talk about, something good to talk about, because now if you stick with it, you're going to be able to earn more money. And now you know what to do with this money, because now you can take this money and invest it and build your wealth, build your family's wealth, and take better care of your family. And now people have a better reason to talk, because now you can take better care of your family. And it doesn't matter because their opinions are not paying your bills. your money is. And now you can have the nicer things and have more financial freedom because you work to earn it, and you're not going to complain and blame everybody else. You're just going to continue to put your head down, get your money, that we can take better care of yourself, your family, and your community. When I first started learning about entrepreneurship and I first started seeing success in entrepreneurship, this is years ago, I was so obsessed and I was so excited because I finally, for the first time, started making decent money. And if you want to quantify decent money, it was probably $200,000 or $300,000 a year as an entrepreneur from my own